Alright, we're down here in the basement, and I think it's time for me to get out of the hobby. I've emptied a bunch of things out of here. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't get out of the hobby. But yes, it is entirely empty down here. This place looks like a war zone. My wife jokingly said it looks like we're getting divorced, but not really, because that would suck. But she said that's what it looks like down here with all the empty games, spots for the games. I almost forget how much space there's really down here. But this is all that's left. A friend asked me to help with my games and bring them to a pop-up arcade event that he was asked to do. So we moved out a bunch of games and I'm helping him out. So we've got sliders everywhere and a monitor and boxes in the corner because underneath pinballs become storage and zip ties and trash and all sorts of stuff. Whole stack of sliders over here by the track and field. Yeah, the restored track and field didn't go, nor the red tent. I brought the Robotron Mini and the Tutankhamun. This is all that's left here. It didn't go. So the next thing we're gonna go do is we're gonna go over to where the event is being held, and we'll take a look at that facility. This is just the empty mess. See, even no games here either. Next thing to do is to clean up this mess, and maybe while most of these games are out, I'll do some rearranging, perhaps. I'm not sure yet what I'll do, but I'm going to clean up first, and we're going to head over to the event and take a look at how everything's set up over there after we moved all these games out. I'm sore. Definitely sore. Alright, we shall go take a look. Alright, so we pulled some arcade games out of this place in here in downtown Holyoke. This is the Old City Laundromat. It's been kind of abandoned for a few years. It's been being renovated. They've got some notices of receivership and whatnot. I mean, if you look at the newspapers on here, let's see if we can find something. I think I saw 2014. See over there, it says like 2014. These newspapers have been up for at least 5 years. But yeah, this is where we pulled those arcade games out of in downtown Holyoke here, because we were pulling games in over here at the Holyoke Unicorn Inn. This is the Unicorn Inn bar in Holyoke. Take a walk down here. This is where we did our pop-up arcade event, and we've got some games in here. We're in the last night now, and this is kind of the area here. It's kind of a pop-up. They're trying to rejuvenate the city. So there is the Unicorn Inn sign. We're gonna kind of sneak in here through the back entrance where we did our event. Let's come in, take a look. This is the arcade here. So as far as how things have managed through the weekend, we've got only one game down. My Sega Outrun is down. I think it broke a gear on the steering mech. And my Donkey Kong cocktail monitor has gone a few shades of dim. But we're here, and it's happening. It's happening. We're in the last night here. We got a few people playing games, kind of wrapping it up. And there was, we got our Centipede and our Zaxxon and our track and field, the Donkey Kong 3. And it's kids' night, so we're playing the pinball and the virtual reality. But this is it. This is what it looks like here. Hopefully I'll do some more filming a little bit later. But this is just kind of the general vibe of the place. Just to give you an idea of what it was like. We got about 21, 22 games here, plus the VR. But we'll go back outside and get the Miss Pac-Man cocktail table outside here. We moved it outside to try and draw some people in. We've turned it off because you can't actually see it during the daylight, but now it's evening, so we're hoping to get a few extra stragglers in. But there you go. This is where we did it, and now we're going to So as this event is over, we're going to pack up some of the games. We'll take down the pinball and whatnot, and we're going to go through and go ahead and start taking up the games over the next couple days and moving them back into our basement after our event here at the Unicorn Inn. So the event is done. The basement has been cleaned up. There is still not many games back yet. We have to move everything back in, which is fun. I'm just trying to figure out where should I keep my layout? Do I change it? So we're going to kind of think about some of the thought process here. So I'm kind of standing in the middle of the basement game room here, and just to kind of give you an idea of how much space the turbo takes up just about as much space as a pinball machine. You can see it kind of lines up with the arena. In fact, it's actually a little bit longer. I try to keep the heavy games near the door just for sake of everything. Getting them in, getting them out, and dealing with them leaving should they leave. When I moved the Silver Strike in not too long ago, I put it over here because I got rid of the NBA Fast Break pinball machine. Not gonna lie, I loved it, and then I kind of lost interest in it, so I sold it, and I had the convertible bug and wanted to get a convertible, so I used that to pay for part of the convertible to give me something to drive around in. But as I'm looking around here, I'm trying to figure out should I put all my pins on one wall? I'm contemplating maybe putting a smaller game in front of that window, like the Robotron Mini, just so I could maybe, reach that window and use it. I've had pins blocking it for the last several years. Shortly after we finished the basement and I didn't have a lot of games, I put a cocktail table underneath that window, and it was nice because you could open the window and you had some daylight in here. But I'm contemplating, this corner kind of gets tight. I had Zaxxon in the corner with a little space behind it so that you could, put another game here in pole position. Was kind of next to that Lamborghini poster, and then NBA Jam was next to it, and that takes up a lot of space. So I've got to figure things out. I want to rearrange a little bit because I find that I end up putting all the two-player games next to each other, and then you're bumping elbows. So what I really want to do is kind of do a one-player game next to, or kind of flanking a two-player game if I can. By two-player, I mean two-player simultaneous, because track and field is two-player simultaneous, and they had the Neo Geo over here, which is two-player simultaneous, and the Marble Madness, which was two-player simultaneous. So that took up some space. So I'm going to, I think, rearrange a little bit so that if I have a two-player game, I can ideally have at least a one-player game on one side, if not both, ideally. So we'll see. I might move the Ms. Pac-Man, although I really do like when you come down and it's the first thing you see. So we'll see what I end up doing and playing with. I'm just not sure yet. But I'm going to kind of give you guys some feedback on the event and how it went. So hold on one second. I'm going to go get the flyer and we'll show that flyer to you. So here we have the flyer and the tickets for the pop-up arcade if there was a pre-sale or something like that. So this is what we did for the flyer. I didn't make the flyer. This was done by somebody else. And the tickets here were done by somebody else. But I just wanted to show you guys kind of what everything looks like. It had the dates on there and a little hashtag there, as well as here. Now things did end up changing a little bit. We ended up doing something at the door, so instead of saying $14 at the door, we ended up changing it. So hey, if you post online that you're here, we'll do $10 right now at the door. And that actually worked out very well. And what this ended up getting you, for the $10, you got the virtual reality, all the games are on free play, and you also get a drink ticket for a craft beer. And we ended up selling drink tickets too, separately, and in my opinion, for $10, including a beer and everything on free play and virtual reality. If you've never done it before, it was a lot of fun. I hadn't done it. I felt like it was a good deal. You do VR and you play a couple of games of pinball and you've made your money back. Plus, then you actually got a beer to enjoy with it as well, if that's your thing. We learned a lot. There's definitely some growing pains involved in this. One thing I think we would do better in the future would be to kind of have this narrowed out a little bit sooner, and maybe put started advertising a lot sooner for it. I think Turnout could have been better, and I think one of the reasons our turnout wasn't as good as we had hoped it would be is because we looked at the calendar, but we also didn't look at the calendar regionally as well. It turned out there was also a lot of other concerts going on in the area. It was the weekend before a lot of schools went back. Even when I invited a bunch of my friends, they were all away. They were all in another state. Wish they could have made it, but they couldn't make it for this case. So it's just, a lot of things that we learned throughout the process. Some of the little things too. So in this space here, okay, just my basement here, I can fit, depending on what you put for titles in here, 18 to 20 games. At the event, we had 21, 22, plus the VR, but when you're doing an event like that, you need walking space. And in my basement, I don't really care about walking space. As long as one person can get by, I'm happy. So I had games next to each other. Boom, 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 boom. As you guys recall, it's just wall to wall down here. And no tables or anything. I mean, I have some cup holders. And a couple cocktail tables that you can rest drinks on, like the Donkey Kong cocktail was here. If I'd always had a cocktail table behind the couch. But having tables and walking space really takes up a lot of room. As you guys saw the venue, when you got to make sure you've got tables and walking space, otherwise it's no good. So we ended up in that space still really only being able to fit, we could probably, if we squeezed it, maybe 25, but you would have lost a table or two. One other thing we could have done is maybe not done a couple cocktail tables, and we could have put some games back to back like we did with the Centipede and the NBA Jam. But just some ideas and things to think about. Another thing you're going to do, because I'm running not long distances, we need more extension cords. We needed extension cords. We also needed a lot more surge protectors just to make sure, to reach and everything. That wasn't too much of an issue. Another thing that is very helpful is having rugs. Big, rugs such as the doormats to hide cords so people don't trip, and some duct tape to keep it down, and that way you're not worrying about it. That was actually helpful to have. That allowed us to put games in the middle, because there were no power drops in the middle of the ceilings. I don't have any power drops, and therefore I don't put any games in the middle. I've thought about it, but I don't really have the space, and I think that would not work well in this basement. But just things to think about when you're doing it. It's also a lot of work to move games. We were fortunate enough to have some extra help, and fortunate enough to have access to a truck and a trailer to pull the games. We were using a landscaping trailer, a covered one, and we were about able to fit maybe 10 games in a trailer, so it took a couple trips to do. I think we ended up making 3 trips for games total, just because the games were in different locations. So other things to think about when you're moving these and lugging these. If you're going out of a basement and have to go outstairs, your friends will hate you, especially when you have to do it with 10 games or more. It's not fun. We had the walkout basement and the Super Dolly 2000 here, which made it super easy. And it'll make it very easy to get the games back in as well. Just kind of things to think about, especially if you're moving games out of your own collection. But basement will hopefully be back together soon. We'll see what we end up with. But for now, I'm going to not finish this video, but kind of we'll do the time warp thing as soon as the games are back in, and maybe give some more input. I forgot to mention one other important thing that we did. We keyed all of our games the same. So we've got, tons of keys here as a result. But let me tell you, it made things easier if we needed to go in the game and open it up to check anything, and whether it's the pinball machines or some of the arcades. That made it a lot easier to go through and check, especially if you've got the same keys on all the games. And I did put a couple coin-ups in some of the games as well, the coin-ups from Adam over at One Circuit. I put one in the Zaxxon, and that was fine. I went to go put another one. I put one in my Donkey Kong cocktail table, And I went to go put one in my Donkey Kong 3, but I did it on the site, and I couldn't quite get it. So I might have just had a bad connection or something, but that was a game that we had to go put on free, credit it up. And I probably would have liked to do the same thing with my Tutankhamun, even though that has a free play. It's on a static screen. And we had to do that with a Space Invader. So only two games actually needed us to go coining up. I'm looking over here because that's where the Donkey Kong 3 was. I know you guys are looking at a blank wall, but in my mind there was a Donkey Kong 3 there. But yeah, those are just some of the things I thought of, especially if you're doing that. I could have done free play ROM, but I don't have a ROM burner, at least not yet. Hopefully soon. All right. Hopefully we return and there's games in here in the basement. Okay, all the games just got dropped off a little while ago while I was at work. My friend Quinn came by and helped her to drop off all the games. So here they are, all lined up. They put a tarp over them. That was very nice, at least over some of them. Helped keep things dry. But yeah, there we go. All the games that we get to go move back into the basement. This track and field's not going to go in the basement, but yeah, we got games everywhere. I feel like I'm in an arcade outside. Maybe we should just have an outside arcade party instead. But anyway, so we're going to get the Super Dolly 2000 out from the garage here. We got to take it out, but let's see. I've got the... Well, let's go over some new things that are in the garage here. But first, let me move some bikes. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the things that are in the garage right now, because this is a good time to do it before we bring all those games back. Okay, so remember how I said we pulled some games out of one of the abandoned buildings there, not too far away? Well, this is one of them. This is a Data East cabinet that either was, a Bad Dudes or a RoboCop or a Ghostbusters or something. I can't quite figure out what it was. It does have the Data East tag here, but anything by the serial number is torn off. I don't see anything else in this cabinet, but in the cabinet is a Neo Geo cartridge. Well, there was supposed to be one when we got it. I'm not sure if we left it on the trailer or something, but it came with a Metal Slug cartridge, which is what was in here. And I got this game works. This system actually works as is. The monitor's way out of whack. Like, the back door was here, and in that abandoned building, people must have just come over and spun all these dials left and right. And the cord was cut off because that's what they did. Same thing over here with this Mortal Kombat cabinet, I believe is what it was. And I've tested this one as well. This is a Surf Planet, and this one actually worked as is. It worked out as is straight out of the box. So, and then the other game that we picked up was this Arkanoid here. This is in a Centipede Cabinet, and it also has the cord cut. I haven't had a big giant hole, big hole, screws, which I thought I was going to get lucky with, but it is indeed locked. So I need to draw out the lock or spin it somehow. But this was a Centipede cabinet, and the cord is also cut. So I need to test this one. This is the one I have not tested yet, but I've got my cord here to test it. Just need to do that. Need to open the back door too, make sure everything's okay inside. And yeah, there's some trash in there. We can come in. We'll peek through this hole. There's trash in there. You can see let me get a light here. Let's see. Loading the light. Light on the phone here. Flashlight. Here we go. So there's the inside, and you can see it was indeed a Centipede. We've got the board there. Power supply. And some trash. Here, look through the hole. Some trash down there. What's down here? Oh, coin mechs that aren't there. But yeah, we'll go through and we'll test this. I've got some other projects here as well, and as you guys know, the Robotrons that I'm building, these are all painted. I'm waiting for stencils. Hopefully by the time this video is published, I have stencils, but we might not have stencils, but they're all painted silver. Just need to do the black and the stencil, and those are ready to go. I picked up a Frogger cabinet on a trip to Maryland with some people, as well as a cruisin' for my other cruisin' because it has a monitor, but we tested the monitor. We're actually going to bring this to the event, and while we're trying to download the monitor, vertical collapse started to happen, so we didn't bring it. Oh well, maybe we'll just, do I throw an LCD monitor and call it a day? At least to get one cruisin' up and running. This one didn't come with a chair, but it was cheap. I mean, I would have paid that price for the monitor. I think I paid $100. So, yeah, we've got a Tiger Heli and a Frogger cabinet. It is indeed a Frogger cabinet. Unfortunately, I'll see if we can take a look over here. This cabinet has seen some better days, and we'll put some wood hardener and clean that stuff up, but I don't know if it's gonna make it. I've tested this one, the monitor's dead, but it does play blind. And here's the other cruisin' that needs a monitor. So we've got projects to do, but in the meantime I'm going to clean off the Super Dolly 2000, and we'll get that over there so we can bring the games into the basement. That is the plan. Where shall we start? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Alright, everything's moved back in. We just finished. I haven't set up the pins yet. We got to do that. Change things a little bit. This lineup is still pretty much the same. Nothing's kind of pushed into place yet or plugged in, but yeah, Donkey Kong 3 and then Track and Field, because that's a two-player game. I wanted a one-player on either side of it, so we're just try it there. Zaxxon's here. I'm going to try and squeeze in the High Speed and the Robotron, and hopefully do it so I can, like, maybe get to that window, maybe. Rescue 911 and Silver Strike Bowling here. I gotta put these two back. Outrun's kind of staying in the same place, and over here this is changing, so I moved the Neo over. I feel like I can stand here and play on this side, and then player 2 can kind of be off to the side a little bit. And I did the same thing, put Marble Madness over on the end, so two people can play that with plenty of space. And, you know, as arcade games go, this is a little bit of damage right here. That's not bad. Steering wheel broke on Outrun. It's supposed to spring, but a spring broke, and when I opened it up, we'll take a look at this later. One of the gears wasn't spinning, so we've got to address that. I think I got it. Maybe, you know, I think there might actually be a scuff mark on the Donkey Kong. I got to look at it more. Not on that side. Little one right here. Right there. I think that's from the chair. People slamming it in. But yeah, that's it. We're moved back in. I gotta set everything up, but we'll get there soon and whatnot. Alright, let's go finish unpacking. So one of the issues we found at the end of the pop-up arcade event was with the Sega Outrun. I kind of came over earlier and I showed that the steering wheel wasn't quite working right. It's supposed to have a spring to it, and I had a couple of people saying that it had lost steering. So we're going to take off the control panel. We probably won't fix it tonight, but we're going to take a look and see what happened. So let's just take out these bolts here. Alright, let's take a look. Let's see what happened. Let me dip this down so we can see. Let me move the camera real quick and we'll be all set. Alright, so we're here looking at the gears. Let's see what's going on. So I don't actually have a broken spring, but if you look, this gear here is moving, but that gear is not. So that tells me that maybe the inside of the gear is stripped on that big gear, because this is supposed to turn. Everything's supposed to turn. This one and this one are supposed to turn, and only one of them is turning. Let me zoom in a little bit. So here we go. This is turning. It's just not grabbing that shaft there. Wonder if I can't turn that by hand. Oh, there we go. I can, but hard. It's hard to do. So I guess we got to take it apart and see if we can figure out what happened to that big main gear. I bet it stripped on the inside, which is interesting. I actually didn't think that the inside would strip. I thought the outside of these gears would have stripped first. I hope that if it's keyed, which I think it is, I hope the key's not lost. We can get another one at the hardware store though. So unfortunately, to get to that gear, the whole steering assembly needs to come out. Yep. Yes, it does. But we'll save that for another day, another video. But that just kind of goes to show, hey, these are the 3D printed gears, and this is what happened out on location. This was the cheap plastic, and it's not solid filled. It's just got supports on the inside, so they were bound to go at some point. But I'm surprised at how well it held up, considering it had been in my basement for a while and didn't break until we put it out on location. And look at this too. You guys see this here? The end cap there, or the cover for the pot is missing, but it's working. Or that just fell off in transit or something. But overall, not bad. So as far as my options go to repair this, I do believe I have a spare original gear. It may have a crack in it, and I may have repaired it with some epoxy, provided I didn't give it to somebody else. I'll have to double check. This one is definitely known to go as far as a gear that cracks, and it always cracks kind of near where the key is up there. And I think there's also other gears available online that are perhaps even metal, in which case then they'll never go, they'll never fail, which is an option. I'm gonna go look and see if I can find those. But those are my options. I can either 3D print another gear, find an original gear, or buy the metal one. I'll see if I can find it. But we'll do that in another video at some point, somewhere down the road in the future. Who knows where. Alright guys, let's put this back together. Alright, everything is set back up in the arcade and mostly working after the move. So everything's in place. Let's see, pole position, not saving high scores. I gotta check that. Maybe it's a switch, maybe it's the NVRAM, but everything's set back to 12,000. That kind of happened while we were there. I'm wondering if somebody just reached inside and reset it, but I'll dive into that. It's not a high priority. But everything is here, mostly working. When I came back and plugged everything in, Silver Strike was giving me a little problem on the monitor. I mean, I know it's got some issues down here at the bottom, but it was blooming, and it reset a couple times. Let's see what else. Everything. So I changed the battery on high speed, but before plugging it in, and it had an adjustment failure come up, and I'm going, I don't know what happened. Of course, a simple Google search told me that when you change the batteries, it will say adjustment failure on it afterwards, and you can't do anything until you go in, open the coin door, and reset it. So let's see, what else? Anything else break? Let's see, I opened up the NBA Jam the other day. It was kind of rough underneath on the bottom here. Let's see, you guys aren't gonna see it, but in here where the deck mounts to, the aircraft carrier mounts to the NBA Jam, There's 4 bolts with a hinge that attach. When I open that up, just to kind of check things, yeah, the very little wood that was there had kind of broken off. It's that particle board stuff. That's not a hard fix. Let's see. At the venue, the Donkey Kong monitor was getting very tired and dim, but now it's okay. It probably does need a cap kit, and probably just those long days was enough to tire it out. When I put that monitor in, I don't think I did a cap kit. I think it just kind of fixed the one cap that wasn't right. Let's see. I need to dial down the flyback or the screen here on the Tutankhamun. It's and you guys probably can't see it here, but it's showing a little bit of red. It needs to be just turned down a little bit. Marble Madness, when I first turned it on, had a software exception, but went away, so no big deal. Let's see, the Neo Geo has been knock on wood here, rock solid. We still need to fix the outrun gear here, and my turbo cockpit is still reminding me that I need to actually get around to changing the power supply, which I haven't done, and it acts up if I don't turn it on for a while. I think that's an original power supply. I don't think it's getting the right voltage, and so therefore it just gives me errors, and then if I reset it a couple times and let it run, it'll work, but that's that. I think that about wraps it up. I do need to kind of come in and just, I think those flippers may need a little bit of adjustment, but otherwise everything's relatively okay here, and that about wraps up. I mean, mostly everything survived the pop-up arcade event, which is awesome. I mean, Turbo I didn't bring. Outrun is the really only major injury here with the gears, and you know, a couple scuff marks, nothing too major. But there we go, guys. If you have any questions about how the pop-up arcade went, thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully this gives you guys some insights. Some things we learned were to market and advertise better, and really research your dates if you're ever going to do something like this. And don't forget the manpower required. I think to take these things out of our basement took maybe a 2 hours to get everything out, and then that was with a walkout basement going up a hill, and then, you know, my friend also had to do that, so you figure it's a solid day of moving games and a solid day of moving things back in. I don't know, I think maybe taking him out was actually easier than bringing him in. So I did the shuffle, and I kind of moved things around. I did say originally that I put the Neo Geo over here. I think I'm going to move it. I put it there so I could give it some space with a 2-player, a 1-player, and then a 2-player game. I think I'm going to move the Neo Geo over and put the Tutankhamun next to the couch, because that's a 1-player game and you can be uptight there and you're not really squeezing anybody in. And I think, let's be serious, I don't have that many friends coming over playing these games all at once, so I think that'll work. I mean, my idea was that I had, you know, 5 friends here playing these 3 games. I know, funny, right? Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this video up. Thanks again for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Have a good one.